Anybody that's been to Night City knows it's a dog-eat-dog world. The strong eat the weak. It's way easier to be eaten up than it is to eat good out here. Out here, the difference between the ones that eat well and the ones that starve, so to speak, is your build and how you use it. Today I'll be running through my throwable setup. It is a mixture of a shotgun build, some grenade setup, mainly through the projectile launch system, and throwables. I have most of the shotgun perks because I will be playing close range. It just seems pretty obvious. My only real range is my throwables. I would say that the most important things to get here is Adrenaline Rush. It is so good. I did not know how good this thing was until I obviously tried it. It makes blood pumps too good. In the technical ability tree, we have a lot of the cyberware stuff because I am just a nut for cyberware. This left tree is all about grenade stuff, but I only get a handful of things because it only really will do so much for me. It's mainly the one that goes in between the two that you want for the Doom launcher. That's what its name. I'm pretty sure the projectile launch system runs off of that one perk. Okay, cool tree. Pounce and Act of Mercy. Borderline necessary in my opinion. Same with Sleight of Hand if you want more damage. Juggler is right there with it. The more you can have the throwing knife or throwing axe, if you have DLC, I'm pretty sure that's only where they're at. The more you can have these in your hands, the more damage you're gonna do. We have a few flex perks here that I could easily get rid of, like Corrosion. I obviously don't need Corrosion, but I kind of just have it here. It's kind of just one of those ones where you put it there, you see how good it is, then you can just swap it out for something else as you go. I also have a stealth perk here just to kind of, get the jump on these guys. Relic Tree through Phantom Liberty. The vulnerability stuff on this right side is too good, and I got the extra projectile launch system. Now, cyberware. This is mostly just like, what you want, obviously. I'll run down the actual, important stuff later on in the video, but the main things you will want is that axolotl in the frontal cortex, the stabber and the nervous system, both the circulatory system, one's the blood pump and the second heart, handle wrap on the hands, and obviously your Sandy. A good Sandy at that will take you a long way in this game, I've noticed. My main weapon for throwables is a goo. I don't know how we pronounce this, but the main reason for that is it can take on crowds. Early game, throwables are kind of like you have to pick off targets one at a time, close range. This thing can take on everybody. For the shotgun, I use guts. It's just because it's cool. It is really good. It rips. That third slot is flexible, so you can use anything really there. An LMG can fit the build perfectly. This is early on in the build's life cycle. I don't even have any real good equipment, but I still have the basis set for this build where I do the throwables, I move in with the shotgun even if I miss, I'm there in their face with it, and it just works. Even when you get crits sometimes, Juggler wouldn't activate. I think it was maybe because I didn't have it at the time, but honestly, it's been a little while, so I don't really remember. This is a decent Sandy. This is the one just beneath, I think, the apogee is how you would say it. I don't really know how to pronounce it. When you play alright, you can see that you can get pretty far, but even if you're low HP, Adrenaline will take you the distance. It is that good. I'm telling you, if you're sleeping on blood pumps, please try them out. They're crazy good. Another almost mandatory cyberware is Second Heart, but it takes so long to actually get it, you can't really build around it until late game, so, find something that helps you along the way, like optical camo. I think the camo would really help. I've been trying optical camo more and more on other builds, and it's been interesting to see how it affects the AI, honestly. We should probably talk about certain perks now, I suppose. There's a certain perk, I can't remember the name, like tit for tat, but I'm pretty sure it's called Pay It Forward. It's where you throw your throwing weapon at them, and then when you get it back from them, like when you retrieve it from them, you would do, 200% more melee damage? I recommend this perk because, if you're wanting to actually main the throwable weapons, it's probably, you know, really good to use because it's pretty much a melee weapon and a throwing weapon all in one package with that perk. I had a buddy use this build before me. He told me to use this, and he wasn't using his throwing weapons like this. He wasn't using the finishers. He wasn't doing any of this kind of stuff, and he perished a lot for it. I think he only played on hard, whereas all my footage is on very hard. So you can see, transparency in the fact that like this build will work if you play it correctly, and that's how I prefer my builds. Like not just autopilot, dummy, easy, but like you actually have to think and play it correctly to pull the stuff off. And when you do it, you always feel, at least a little bit cool about it. It depends, like some builds are just super easy, but these precision builds, they always hit different to me. I don't know why, but it's been like that for as long as I can remember. I've always been a precise weapon guy rather than like a spray and pray, which would probably explain why I don't like LMGs a whole lot. But I'm kind of ranting here. Another perk that you could get, I would say it's good to get, but it's not really like mandatory, is Edge Runner. Obviously, it just is a random proc, but when it actually hits, it allows you to take out skull enemies like this guy in almost one hit, if not one full hit. I mean, you saw that. That guy was dead like 80% HP without it. But with it, he would have been immediately dead. If you're going to play into the shotgun side of this build, I would say grab Rip and Tear, obviously, and all of the perks corresponding to shotguns. They help so much. Rip and Tear gives you that kind of Doom guy feel to the character. It's just so good. I don't have a lot of footage with it, if any at all, because it's not really compatible with a Sandy, but it is top tier in my opinion. I don't know if I would pair it with a Sandy again. I'd probably pair it with something else, like maybe a hacking setup or a Berserk. But Berserks can't even be used with weapons. They have to have melees out, so that's a whole nother build at this point, you know what I mean? Speaking of stuff that is not compatible with the Sandy, Ticking Time Bomb in the technical ability tree, it's like the top perk, I believe. That does not always proc, because if you have a good Sandy like I do, or like the best one, so to speak, in the game, you kill everything before that thing can even go off, usually, because it slows time so much. 3 seconds isn't a long time, you would think, but when you have a Sandy becoming a Time Lord, literally, you kind of play by a different set of rules, in my opinion. I don't know how many of y'all have been sleeping on the projectile launch system, but this thing is kind of a sleeper pick, in my opinion. It's good, but it's one of those things you truly have to build into to make good. Like, you've seen me use it a few times here and there. I'm using the EMP variant of it. I'm not even using an explosive one, thermal, any of that. I'm using the shock one. And it's still doing really well. I only use that one mainly because it's, attuned with cool, but also because whenever you want to do these kind of things, builds and all that, I try to, like, cover the bases of the elements. I don't have fire, though, obviously, so I could have covered that better, but, between my projectile launch system and my throwable, I have shock in spades, I would say. And honestly, you could get away with that sometimes, just specializing purely in the one, as long as you have it as an overwhelming force, essentially. If you're going to start this build from the very beginning, I recommend stealth a little bit up to a certain point where you feel comfortable actually full on like frontal assaulting these guys with a throwing weapon, because it's a little hard to take on, you know, SMG guys, pistol guys, let alone shotgun guys with a throwing axe, a throwing, knife. Like, it's not easy, I would say, for the most part. But early on, you get yourself, just like just John Everyman Sandy, and you should be fine, at least in the beginning. You support that with a Kerenzikov, and you will have more time bending as you need it. That's the thing, is you can really do as much time bending as you want through cyberware and your Sandy. So it is up to you at the end of the day how much of this stuff you use. That is the reason why I haven't gone into full detail about every little thing you should be doing. I only really give you like an outline of what I would recommend. I want you to take this build essentially and make it your own. Don't like rely on my recommendations, Just to reiterate as like a summary, the cyberware that you are going to want, like absolutely, handle wrap, stabber, covers your crit damage. It's really nice, really easy stuff. Mine's not even all the way up, but this is good. Get these if you're going to run it. Blood Pump, Second Heart, survivability in spades. a must-have for every build, in my opinion. I will be having these in everything going forward. And then finally, we have a good Sandy, and then an axolotl. I'm pretty sure that's how we pronounce this. All these cyberwares are pretty much mandatory. Everything else is kind of a flex slot. I want you to kind of figure out as you go. It's better for us as we make builds together. So as I was editing this, I managed to find a few more clips that actually show off one instance where ticking time bomb just does not work, which is this one right here. Everything is already dead by the time it goes off. But I also managed to find clips of the other side of my build, not just throwing axes and stuff, because obviously I did try to main that. This build was a lot of firsts for me. I didn't try shotguns a lot, like pure specking into them. I didn't try throwing axes before that. I didn't even have a Sandy before this. That's why I decided to also throw in cyberware I had never tried before, like the projectile launch system. And I think it really does pay off to try builds like this, go out of your way and try these things, because you never know what you're gonna like. This is one of those builds that shows you that you can kind of get things done just by messing around and seeing what works, even if it doesn't synergize all the way. Like, it doesn't make sense to use these weapons together a lot of the time, but it just works sometimes. Like right here, this is the one instance where I just kind of abandoned the throwing axes after a second. Ticking time bomb actually works here and kind of shows you that, when I actually hit shots and everything works, other than throwing stuff, this stuff will hit hard. Shotguns are so good. It just feels crazy how good those are. But right there you saw the Sandy interaction with Rip and Tear, I think is the name of it. Yeah, I think that is. It's, kind of buyer beware kind of thing where you use it at your own risk. And above all, you just gotta have fun with the builds. Get crazy with it. I hope you've enjoyed this, and thank you for watching. This is a new kind of content for me. Kind of just dipping my toes in the pool, so to speak.